Hello and welcome to the Dr. Bros, where we have an honest discussion around vet life in and out of the clinic. My name is Adam, and I am here with my closest friends from vet school.
Hey, this is Chris. I'm a GP in North Carolina.
Hey, this is Jeff. I'm a dermatology associate veterinarian here in Louisville, Kentucky.
And again, this is Adam. I'm a relief veterinarian in Louisville, Kentucky. And today we have a very special guest, a very good friend of mine, Dr. Teresa Kho, who is joining us here on the podcast. So Dr. Kho was born in Hawaii, grew up in California, completed her Doctor of Veterinary Medicine with Ross University School of Veterinary Medicine in the Caribbean, and has since lived in Indiana, Florida, Idaho, and finally Kentucky. Louisville is where she calls home now with her husband, young son, 3 dogs, and 2 cats. After many years working as a general practitioner, Dr. Kho now owns and operates a mobile practice exclusive to veterinary acupuncture. So everyone, please welcome Dr. Teresa Kho. Thanks for coming on.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Super excited to just have a chat with you, get things started. So as always, we're going to start with just a little quick, fun, random off the top question here. So if you could be a dinosaur, what dinosaur would you be? This is for everyone. Anybody jump in?
I'll go. I'm going to go pterodactyl because I want to fly.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
So not to say the same thing. So pterodactyl is really cool. I mean, I guess a raptor. I mean, those guys are pretty cool. Yeah. So go with that. They're fast.
This is Jeff. I'm going to say mastodon because of Power Rangers.
Solid answer. So I really like the Elasmosaurus, the like giant neck dinosaur that swims.
I'm sorry, the what?
The Elasmosaurus. Maybe you should look it up.
Is that Littlefoot?
God bless you.
No, friend. It's
Bigfoot?
It's a very long neck dinosaur that swims in the water. Maybe learn you something today and give it a goog. But I feel like if you're swimming around with a large neck, you're just asking to get that stuck places. So I'm kind of with Chris. I would probably go with a raptor. They're kind of quick and shifty and small, and I don't know. I think they're kind of cool.
Wait, you just described that to tell us you weren't going to do that dinosaur? We went through all of that.
I'm just saying, I think those are cool dinosaurs, but I don't want to be that dinosaur.
You really buried the lead.
You described the Loch Ness Monster.
Maybe there is still an Elasmosaurus swimming among us today.
I think you just wanted to say Elasmosaurus and impress everybody.
Truly.
I'm just showing off. It's true.
The truth comes out.
Anyway, all right. So getting into today, so the goal of today's episode is just to learn a little bit more about Dr. Kho, her journey, and where she's at today in the field of vet medicine. So to kick us off, we'll start with a question that we ask all of our guests. What initially drew you into the field of veterinary medicine?
So I'm going to have a different answer than a lot of veterinarians probably have, which is, that they wanted to be a vet since they were a little kid. I did not. I actually wanted to be an astronaut for a lot of my younger years. And it wasn't until I got a job just out of high school. I was looking for a job and I saw a vet hospital locally was hiring and I thought, that could be fun. So I took that job and I was there for a couple of years and I was a mechanical engineering major in undergrad to start out. Realized very quickly that I didn't want to do that. And decided to take the turn into biology and changed my major to biology and tried to focus on getting into vet school from there.
That's awesome. I love hearing stories that are a little bit outside the traditional, people who maybe didn't have that on their radar until later in life. It kind of gives a unique perspective on that. So as mentioned earlier, you went to vet school in the Caribbean. at Ross. What challenges do you feel like you faced going to vet school outside of the continental U.S. and having to travel so much for vet school?
Honestly, the travel wasn't even a challenge for me. It was definitely something I enjoyed. Probably the biggest challenge was just taking that leap to begin with, because I think until I actually started school there, I thought it was a scam. I was like, this can't be real, right? And, because I had tried to get into vet school for a couple of rounds before that. And so it just felt like too good to be true, to be going to school on this like beautiful island. So I think just basically like uprooting my life and moving to this island in the middle of the ocean, that was a big leap to take. But after that, everything came pretty easily. Everybody on the island, you like kind of bond over your shared experience of being uprooted like that. And we all got really close, and I was able to go home between semesters and see my family and friends. And really the travel wasn't that big of a deal for me. In fact, I feel like people ask me all the time, like, oh, how did you focus and how did you, stay in the school mode when you had like these beautiful beaches all around you all the time and such easy access to it? And I honestly think, like, how did you do it in state schools? Because you have all the distractions of like everyday life. You adjusted to it and adapted to it. And it honestly it was really easy for me, and it became like a second home.
So in your career, you've kind of traveled all over. You've lived a ton of different places doing, I know you've done some extensive GP work, and now you own your own business, your own mobile practice doing veterinary acupuncture. Take us through a little bit of the journey that you went down throughout your career.
It's kind of long and winding, so I'll try to make it as short as I can. But basically, all through vet school, I thought I wanted to do zoo med. And so any chance I could, I was doing, electives, externships, anything zoo, exotics, wildlife. I was sticking my fingers in it and just, trying to go all in until fourth year. And clinical rotations is like something else. And I realized that I didn't want to keep being a student for another potentially 5+ years, and was ready to kind of like get to work and make some money. So decided not to pursue zoo med and went into general practice. Never really loved it. And got,
that's okay.
It was always just kind of a job for me. And compassion fatigue and burnout were very much a reality in my first couple of years. So when the opportunity arose to just kind of step back, I started to do relief work instead. And we were kind of starting to move around the country. And while I was doing that, an opportunity for a zoo internship popped up, and I jumped on it. Unfortunately, it was a really bad situation. So I had to duck out of there for the sake of my license, and just I didn't want to be involved in what was happening there. So I had to leave that. And so then after that, I just kind of went to part-time, and that's when I started working at Banfield with Adam. And then not long after that was the pandemic, and I had my first child, only child. So I was basically home with a newborn during the pandemic, twiddling my thumbs, sort of, as much as you can with a newborn. But got kind of stir crazy. So I was looking for things that I could do from home, and started doing some consulting work for Chewy. So I did that for about a year. and then wanted to kind of get back into actually practicing medicine again. So I did some relief and part-time work. And then from there decided to pursue acupuncture. And in 2021, I started my mobile practice and haven't really looked back. And here we are.
That's awesome. That is quite the journey.
Yeah.
But again, that's really cool that you've moved around with what you feel is the best move for you. I always commend people when they're able to have the courage to take that step in another direction if they feel like that's what's best for them. So I really commend you on that. What's it been like? You mentioned your son. What's it been like trying to start and build and maintain your own business while also being a mother to a toddler?
All new challenges, definitely. I think in a lot of ways it has made being a parent easier because I have the freedom and flexibility to, make my schedule however I want it to be. And I'm a practice of one. I don't have any employees aside from myself. So, if I have to reschedule appointments for a day or close for a day or something to accommodate for my son, then I don't have employees counting on me for work. So it really just affects me. So I think like in a lot of ways, it's been beneficial to being able to have the family life balance that I want. Of course, that also means if I'm not working, I'm not making that income since I'm only one person. So that's one downside of it. But I feel like when I was in general practice with him, it was, there's constantly times that I had to call out of work because he was sick and he had to stay home from daycare, or I had to pick him up early because something happened at daycare, or, various childcare concerns. And, that still happens now, but I don't have to run that by anybody. It's my call, and I can make those choices and decisions for myself, which is really nice.
That is nice to have that flexibility. So what I'm going to do now is just kind of open things up to our other host here and just kind of do a roundtable discussion and let them kind of fire off some more questions to you and learn a little bit more.
This is Jeff. Well, one question kind of piggybacking off that last comment you made or your last question would be, as you are coming from the general practice setting, what eventually made you finally like flip that switch to start your mobile practice?
It was just the right time and place, I think. I was kind of trying to make it work in the practice with practicing acupuncture and then also seeing general practice appointments. But I really wanted to do the mobile service for people in Louisville. And it just sort of worked out right at that moment to go ahead and just do it.
Sure.
Hey, this is Chris. So kind of going with that too. So are you strictly mobile, or do you have a brick and mortar?
So I had been strictly mobile for about the last year and a half, but my husband, who's also a vet, just opened an urgent care. And so on some days I see appointments out of his urgent care to be able to provide lower cost services for people.
That's awesome. And do you think there's pros and cons between the two of them, or do you think you have one that you prefer to do more than the other?
There's definitely pros and cons for both. I love the mobile service because, for acupuncture, you really have to have pets in their most relaxed state, which is not always in a vet clinic. And so having them in their own home, in their own bed with their pet parents or family or whatever, they're usually very receptive to having somebody new there sticking needles in them. So it's really nice to be able to do that for people. And, the owners are also more relaxed in their own home too, because a lot of owners are worried about how their dogs or cats are going to react to the acupuncture itself. And So, there's a level of stress between the owners and the patients, and all of that is greatly reduced by having it in their own home. But of course, going to somebody's house, I have to factor in time and travel into that cost. So it is a little bit more expensive. And not everyone can afford that service. So it's nice to have the brick and mortar to be able to offer it at a lower cost to people and be able to get more pets in to treat.
That's awesome. And are you planning to, I guess, kind of schedule your stays out where you're going to be like, hey, 3 days are going to be mobile and 3 days are going to be at urgent, or are you just kind of still kind of winging it right now or figuring it out?
Yeah. So right now I'm like 2.5 days mobile, and then that other half is in the urgent care. So I try to see appointments 3 days of the week. Doesn't always work out that way, but that's how I try to schedule it.
And this is Jeff again. I don't think we've asked you yet, but what specifically made you interested in acupuncture in particular?
Really curiosity more than anything. I had heard about it a lot and hadn't really seen it done very much, and I didn't really understand how it worked. I know a lot of people, especially Western medicine trained people, are skeptics about it, and I definitely was. I thought it was all the woo woo, but after learning the science behind it, it was actually very interesting, and obviously it won me over. So it was more curiosity than anything. And then once I was able to dive into it a little deeper, I just really fell in love with it.
This is Adam again. So what are the main, what's the main demographic of patients you're seeing and things you're trying to manage?
So I would say a lot of what I do is pain management. So a lot of older pets with arthritis, for various reasons. But then second to that is probably back dogs. I treat a lot of back dogs that either, they go to surgery and they want to help manage the pain postoperatively, or they go to surgery and they haven't regained full function of their legs, or they don't go to surgery at all and they want to try to manage medically. And so those are probably the majority, but I do get the younger patients that have weird things like hit by car and nerve damage, or trying to think of what else. I had a cat that had hyperesthesia that it really helped for. All kinds of things, really. But I would say mainly it's pain management that I'm dealing with.
And this is Jeff. I really appreciate those points because I think when we're in school, I remember chatting with some of the other guys, we don't learn much about holistic medicine unless you take the time to go and learn it. Mm-hmm. So anytime we get an owner that's talking about doing more holistic things, I can really only offer them mostly my Western trained medicine, but I have an open mind about the concept of holistic things. And I'm like, if there's anything you can show me or anything I can read or learn about it, I'm happy to, but I can't give you a strong opinion on the things that I just haven't learned about. And I think that was something that I had to learn in vet schools, because when I started vet school, I feel like I was very judgmental because I just didn't know. You don't know what you don't know. And so it's easy to be ignorant about things you don't know. And then as I kind of got through and had other friends who got more interested in the holistic side, I was like, oh, okay, there's clearly something to this. And a lot of modern science and medications we use come from medicine that is more Eastern or more holistic and has just been changed or become different on the Western side. And it's just different medicine. So I really think it's cool that you got into it and have tapped into a niche, I think, that other people haven't in our area.
I think it's definitely easy to be skeptical about it, and because there is a lot of science to back acupuncture and light treatments like laser therapy, things like that. But when you start talking about holistics, there's a lot of gray area, and it can kind of fall into that woo-woo category. And so and I think there's a lot more push for that from clients right now too. They're really into the alternative therapies for pets. So, people ask me all kinds of weird things about, holistic therapies. And I'm like, I have no idea. But there's a lot out there, but people right now, I think, are really interested in getting away from the pharmaceuticals and the traditional medicine and trying to do things for their pets in a more holistic way. And so I think that's it's bringing it more to our, the general practitioner's attention, because people are asking about it in general.
Yeah. And I was kind of jumping on that too, is I was definitely in the woo woo. Like, I don't understand this stuff at all. It's kind of what JT, no one really taught us it. And then one of our associates at our practice, she got certified in acupuncture, and I saw it kind of firsthand a little bit before her, but definitely after she came on board. And I was like, this is awesome. And now we have so many arthritic dogs and a lot of back dogs, and they're like, hey, I can't afford surgery. And I said, well, try acupuncture. She's right here. She's got an opening. She says, we'll see you now or whatever, or tomorrow. We can get you going. And I definitely has opened my eyes to that side of medicine. And I'm definitely for it.
Yeah, for sure. And those back dogs are really my favorite pets to treat, because I have seen some amazing things happen with acupuncture treatments for them. And, would they have had that same recovery without it? Maybe, it's hard to say, but I know that I've given them the treatment and they're doing better. And to me, that's evidence enough. So, but yeah, those back dogs are really something else.
So I have just one last question for you while we're wrapping up here. And that's just for anybody who is new into the field or looking to make a change in the field. What tips would you give to some of our listeners who may be interested in learning more about acupuncture, or maybe wanting to start to do some acupuncture on their own?
I would probably recommend trying to find somebody local to you that you can shadow, or at least, come and hang out with them for a few appointments every now and then, and maybe like follow through patient care over a series of appointments, because really seeing it firsthand is what won it over for me. And seeing that, when I started, I too was nervous about how pets were going to respond to putting needles in them, because, we know what that's like. And it's often very challenging, to just give a vaccine, let alone sit there and put, 15 to 20 needles in a dog and not have them moving around everywhere. And so seeing how those treatments went in my training and seeing how the pets can respond sometimes immediately was really eye-opening for me. And so I think if you can try to shadow somebody and follow through a patient care through a few treatments, or, get involved in a social networking system where people can talk about cases with acupuncture treatment specifically, just to kind of get a feel for what it looks like. But ultimately, I'd say if you have the time and the funds to do the acupuncture certification, just do it. You're not going to regret it. It's great.
For sure. So one last, just kind of fun question, just to round this out here for everybody. What is the last thing that you watched on TV that was just flat out terrible?
This is Jeff. The last thing I watched was last week, and it was Love is Blind season, Jesus, like 5 or 6, whatever the most recent one is. And I'm going to tell you, okay, hear me out. Hey, don't give me that face. You watch The Bachelor. Both of you do.
I don't watch any of these shows, just FYI.
I haven't watched The Bachelor.
Maybe it's Adam and
it was
Brandon.
Brandon. Yeah, that was me and Brandon.
That's what it is. So, like, okay, it is trash television, but the first couple seasons were kind of interesting. And now that you kind of get the concept, like, you're supposed to meet somebody behind a wall and then talk to them, and you're dating, and then you get married in like 4 weeks. You get immediate, so obviously you get engaged immediately, and then they see each other. So it's an interesting concept, but like at this point, most of them do so terribly, and I feel like everybody needs therapy after, and I stress out watching them, and I can no longer scream at the TV saying "Don't do it." So I did not finish the season. I literally got through a couple episodes and then watched the reunion just to see what happened.
Man, this is Chris. I don't know. I'm on my phone now trying to figure out what have I watched that I didn't finish watching. I don't know. Natalie kind of gives me a hard time because she knows I'm not one to. I'll give everything a chance and I'll just watch it even if it's terrible, and I'll just watch I watched Hurricane Heist years ago and I thought it was hilarious because they're robbing a bank or something in the middle of a hurricane.
What?
Like that was the premise of the whole movie. Yeah, it was very dumb. So I'll watch some of these dumb movies. So I don't know. I can't remember the last thing I'm like, this is dumb, and just turned it off. Because if it was that bad, I just push it out of my mind and I don't remember what the title was.
I'll go. I don't really get to watch a whole lot of TV anymore. That's not children's TV. But probably the worst thing I've seen recently was we actually did put on the TV on New Year's Eve to watch the ball drop. And it was like the worst coverage I've ever seen, ever. But I guess, I don't know. I think the ball like malfunctioned, I guess. I heard later or something. I don't know. But
it was delayed.
Is that what it was? Yeah, I don't.
I believe so.
It was very
From
confusing.
New York,
because,
right?
Yeah, because it like dropped a little bit and then it just kind of panned around to everybody partying on the street. And then like it suddenly went back to the ball drop and it was like it started all over again. But nobody said anything about it. So I mean, it's just confused.
We don't have time.
Yeah.
Nobody noticed.
Yeah, and then it like, so then it was like panning around to all the people partying and kissing on the street. And then it like almost immediately cut to a recap of the year, which was just awful. Like all the bad things. I'm like, wow, what a great way to start the new year.
Fair answer.
Yeah.
I do remember that, and it was terrible.
It was, yeah.
And yes. And I remember also looking at my phone, I'm like, it's New Year's, but the ball hadn't dropped yet. It was, yeah.
Yeah, and then like 2 minutes or 3 minutes later or something, it finally did drop, and then there were the fireworks. Yep. Yeah, it was confusing, but nobody said anything about it, so it was just like,
yes,
you're just left to assume that this was normal.
Did you still get the 10-second countdown? I did not watch this.
There was a countdown, but then the ball like sort of dropped, but not really.
It tracks for everything going on in life right now.
Yeah.
It's a good start to the 2024.
Yeah.
It's kind of how 2024 is going.
Start on the defense.
Well, for me, it would probably, I guess, have to be The Bachelor, because I do watch The Bachelor. I don't have Brandon here to back me up. But it is terrible. I can admit it, but it's just our guilty pleasure, I guess. But well, anyway, thank you so much, Dr. Kho, for coming on with us. Is there anywhere where people can find you on social media or email or anything? Yeah,
my social media. Well, my Instagram is at Aloha Vet Acupuncture. Same for Facebook, actually, too. And email is Dr. Kho, DRKHO at alohaveterinaryacupuncture.com.
And thank you again for coming on, and thank you all for listening to the Dr. Bros. If you enjoyed it, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or anywhere you listen to your podcast. We will love you forever.
Yes, we will.
It would also help us out if you could share this episode with others who may be interested in today's topic. You can also tell us what you want to hear. You can drop suggestions in the comments or shoot us an email at thedrbros@gmail.com or DM us at thedrbros on Instagram. You can also reach me personally on Instagram at Dr. Adam DVM. That's DRADAMDVM.
And hey, this is Chris. You can reach me on Instagram at dr.chrishernandez. That's dr.CHRISHERNANDEZ.
And hey, this is Jeff. You can catch me on TikTok or Instagram at DermDrJeff, DermDogtorJeff.